The second one, which was far more sinister, was the something called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. And this is really of the most important agreements. Now, remember that the McMahon letters date back to 1915. Guess what? In 1915, the same year that the Brits are promising the Arabs independence, they have begun another series of negotiations. This time with the Russians and the French. Now, the Russians and the French are on their side. Right? The Russians and the French are on their side. And the Russian foreign minister and the British foreign minister and the French foreign minister, they met a number of times, figuring out what is to be done if we win. Notice the greed. In 1915, they're already eyeing the prize. In 1915, they're going to wonder, how are we going to slice this pie? How are we going to divide this cake amongst us? You get the point here, right? If we win, what are we going to do? We don't want to fight in public. Let's hash it out right now. And so Russia demanded, they want Istanbul. And they want the main land of Turkey. Why? Because we just said that in order to get to the ocean, you need to go through Istanbul. Also, Russia had vested interests in Armenia. Armenia and Turkey always had a conflict between the two, and Russia was very pro-Armenian. So they wanted basically the main Ottoman lands, if you like. And France wanted a protectorate in Lebanon, what is now Syria. They wanted chunks of Syria. And England demanded the bulk of the Arab lands, and that is basically Iraq and Transjordan and the Hijaz. This is what they wanted, and eventually they agreed to this type of share, and this is called the Sykes-Picot Agreement, Sykes-Picot, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, after the British and the French the ministers who actually negotiated the treaty, and it was agreed upon by all three governments in utmost secrecy. And we have the original map of the Sykes-Picot Agreement. If you see this, that is the actual original map, and if you look very carefully, you cannot probably see it there, but there is the signature of Sykes and Picot right at the bottom. Do you see my mouse? How come you don't see my mouse? I don't know why you don't see my mouse. Okay, but on the bottom right-hand corner, you see the signatures of Sykes and Picot. Now, literally, they're gathered around a map, and they're figuring out who's going to get the red, who's going to get portion A, who's going to get portion B, and they're arguing, and they're drawing arbitrary lines here and there, and the modern Middle East is literally being carved out and argued over on a map and a table between the two or three of them. Each one is saying, no, this me, that me. Finally, the end map is in front of you. We still have the original map. And the only thing that comes to mind here is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ reported in Musnad Imam Ahmad. It is only a matter of time. يُوشِكُ أَن تَتَدَاعَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْأُمَمِ. It's only a matter of time before the other nations will call one another to attack you. Just like people are called to eat from a common plate. Just like people are called to eat from one plate, they're going to be called to attack you. They're literally debating and negotiating who's going to get which share of the pie, which slice of the cake goes where, and eventually they agree to these arbitrary lines, and these arbitrary lines basically form the map of the modern Middle East to this day. And this is called the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and it was agreed upon in utmost secrecy. And the irony of ironies, the Frenchman was called Francois Georges Picot, and the British was called Sir Mark Sykes. Both of them were ignorant of the Middle East. They had barely visited. Neither of them spoke Arabic. They're complete juhal of the situation. They're a bunch of diplomats, basically, right? They don't have first-hand experience or ground knowledge of the ethnicities, cultures, it's literally a map that they have not even been to. And they're arguing and debating who's going to get which portion on a piece of paper. And this forms the basis of the modern Middle East. The Sykes-Picot Agreement, most of the country's borders and whatnot were basically drawn out here in this secret agreement. Now, question arises, if it was so secret and top secret and secret, how did it get public? Well, brief footnote here, not quite relevant to us. In 1917, Russia had its own internal revolution, not relevant to us. And the Tsars were thrown out and the Bolsheviks came to power. So the Tsar dynasty comes to an end and the Bolsheviks come to power, and the Bolsheviks wanted to expose how corrupt the Tsars were and how bad the Tsars were. So when they discovered these documents, they immediately went public with them. And the next day, New York Times heading and the Times of London heading is basically secret agreement between England and Russia and whatnot that goes against the McMahon Promise. It goes against the Arabs' independence. Even the British public and the American public are now savvy to what's going on. Compare this to Edward Snowden and what he's doing in our times, right? This is the people leaking the secrets and whatnot, right? It was a source of great embarrassment to England that here we are promising the Arabs, and as we are promising them and signing letters with them, we're also signing letters with the Russians and with the French. But they managed to smooth it over, believe it or not. And wallahi, how naive the Muslims were. They managed to smooth it over and lie about it and say, oh, no, don't worry, we still promise to you, still valid. And the Arabs to the very end believed them. To the very end. Right until the peace conference of 1990, as we'll talk about, inshallah ta'ala, in a while. Now, in this agreement, England got control over Jordan and Iraq and Palestine, what is now Palestine and Israel. France was given the southeastern part of Turkey and Syria, and Russia was promised Istanbul and most of central Turkey and what is today Armenia. This is called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. That's the second of the three deals we want to talk about.